Welcome to today's discussion on a continuation of definitions and getting into a more formal discussion on a very key term called as supply under GST. In our earlier session, we have discussed some of those definitions. Could be goods, services, supplier, recipient, job work, taxable person, casual taxable person, non-residential taxable person. See, these are all some of those words that are referred often. In that row of discussion, we still have about another three important definitions to discuss, which has a very deeper understanding. In fact, when we have these three definitions right, only we could able to conclude our decisions under GST, whether it is leviable to tax or it is not leviable to tax. If someone is not in a position to get these definitions right on its first go, then there is a high possibility that they would land up in a different answer. Coming back here, on that row of important definitions, we will make our first beginning towards business. 2 subsection 17 defines the term business, and it defines the term business in a more inclusive way. Business is being defined in a more inclusive way, where it comes out and highlights that business includes any trade, commerce, manufacture, business or any trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, adventure, wager, or any other similar activity, whether or not done for a pecuniary benefit. So, if it is going to be a trade, buying and selling of goods, if it is going to be a commercial transaction for commerce, if it is going to be a professional activity done by a professional, or it is going to be a vocation performed by any of those specific people who perform that vocation, or it is going to be a adventure activity of moving somebody from here to there or engaging in some adventurous activity, or a wager, betting contracts. All these are all treated as business, and they never stopped there, or any other similar activity, whether or not it is for a pecuniary benefit. Many times business is understood as business should be done for a profit motive. Business should be done for a benefit. Now they want to break that rule. Even if it is done for a pecuniary benefit or otherwise, it would be treated as business. Similarly, the definition does not stop in its first limb. In the second limb, it comes out and says, any activity or transaction in connection with or incidental to or ancillary to profession, vocation, wager, manufacture, business related matters. So my main activity is not manufacture, but the process I do is in connection with manufacture. My main activity is not a profession, but what I do is incidental to do that profession. My main activity is not manufacturing, but what I do is ancillary process to manufacturing. So ancillary to subclass A. What was subclass A is, I'm sure all of us are aware, trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, adventure, wager, or any other similar activity. So if any activity, look at that word again, any activity. If that activity has a link with trade, has a link with profession, has a link with manufacture, then no doubt that activity will also be treated as business. on its third and the last, importantly, at least to together read it as a business definition. Any activity or transaction in the nature of subclause A, whether or not there is volume, frequency, continuity, or regularity. What do we mean by these words? Volume, frequency, continuity, and regularity. These words are important, that irrespective of your volume, whether you do a big scalable business or you do a small business, irrespective of the volume, irrespective of your frequency, how frequently you do it. Are you doing it on a daily basis? Are you doing it on 15 days once? Are you going to do it on a monthly once activity? How frequently you do, followed by continuity or regularity. Are you regular and continuous in doing this activity? Are you even irregular? Let me repeat it. Whether or not is the word used first. Irrespective of your volume, irrespective of your frequency, irrespective of your continuity or regularity, it would be treated as business. Sir, I did it only once. Will I be treated as business? Yes, it would be treated as business, whether or not there is volume, frequency, continuity, regularity. See, these two sublims, B and C sublims, are attached with A. So A, B, C has to be read together. Rest all sublims can be read independently. But these three sublims, in nutshell, if you see a person buy some saris and sell saris, they are doing everything in their house only. Are they engaged in business? Yes or no? They buy sari, sell sari to only their nearby known people. That's all. They buy sari in bulk from Surat, where they get it at, let's say, rupees 800 per sari, and they sell it to near and dears for rupees 1000. Are they engaged in business? Yes or no? That's all. Start learning from here. Somebody procured the goods from the domestic market, stocked in his home, opened a online supplier profile in the e-commerce portal, and supplies all those garments through e-commerce portal. So this time little different. The earlier person, the mother-in-law, was selling to the near and dear. The daughter-in-law stepped in. Daughter-in-law said, nothing doing. I will sell everything through your the number one model showroom in India by name called as Flipkart. Okay, I would sell everything through. I would sell everything through e-commerce operator. Points for our discussion is, in case if it is going to be all those supply of goods, all those sale of goods, or these garments through your e-commerce operator Flipkart, whether the daughter-in-law is engaged in business, yes or no? So start thinking on this line only. You see that a individual, you see an individual, this individual has a building. That building, this individual has rented to a person. This person, an individual, has a building. That building he has rented it to another person to run his office. Okay, to run the another person office. Let's say it is going to be a CA office. An individual has a building. He has rented that to a chartered accountant to run his office. The question before the question before us said, is it a business? Yes or no? An individual as a very important question. That is why I asked. And I want all of you to respond, or else you know what will be my response. If you want a sample, I will take for the next half an hour in a different way without raising any questions. If you all like it and we will go in that model, we can go. Okay. My question is not which income it is. Is it house property income or it is business income? My question is very simple. As per this definition, what you read, is it a business or is it not a business? That's all. Will it be covered under the business? It will not be covered under business. That's all. So people who all said no, 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 no. Okay, I'll leave people who said yes. People who all said no. Can any of you come out and write why it is no? Why it is no? If you say yes, it is a business, then I'm agreeing with you. We will leave it. If you say no, why? We don't want whether CA is in business or not. CA is in profession. That is a universally understood model. Whether the landowner, whether the flat owner, whether the building owner who gave the land on rent, is he in business or not? For him, that it is business or not. If you come out and say it is not a business under this definition, I want reasoning why it is not a business. What made you to have a not a business? I believe I have asked a question. People who said no, I want you to respond. Why it is not a business? You should have an, if you say it is no, then why it is not a business? Quick, quick, quick. Then to you, what is business? I would want to know from you. Then what is business? Quick, 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 quick. We are all waiting. You simply said no. I would want to know from you what is the reason. Quick. If you say no, it is not a business. What made you to say no? That is what is more important here. Quick. It includes money transaction. Come on, Deepa, everything will include money only. Oh, there is no risk. Ishwar, oh, is it so? Rent is paid to the owner properly and there are no risk. Ishwar, if you have a property of your own, you will know what is the risk in having a property. For example, a pandemic like this, nobody is paying rent. Okay, nobody is interested in paying rent. They are negotiating with the landlord to take half rent and all this and all. I would not buy that point that there is no risk in property. Do you think the money that usually used to be collected by all those malls in India are being collected in the last few months? I'm sorry. I'm extremely sorry. You have to re-understand what is business itself and re-understand what is house property itself because it is incidental to profession. What is incidental to profession? Renting is incidental to profession. No, no, no. Okay, there is no buying and selling. That is for the word trade. You use a word called as commerce. No. The next word that is there. Occupation, employment and all is not business. I'm sorry. So that is why it is not brought in. Selling once also constitute business. That is why it is worded as volume, frequency, continuity, and regularity. I want all of you to take note of. See, don't kindly come up with your own proposals. The section would tamper it, section would change it, section would come with its own proposals. When you come back here, the term business is so well coined that whether you do it for a benefit, even if you don't do it for a benefit, then it would be treated as a supply. Come back here, it could be any trade, commerce, manufacture, profession. Every word is such a big word. Okay. Don't underestimate any of these words. These words are all cannot be underestimated by you. All these words are so well important that a trade is going to be an activity which is engaged by a person in buying and selling of goods. Any commercial transaction which is going to be engaged by a person, it would be captured in commerce. Conversion of your raw material to finished goods is going to be manufacture. Somebody engaged in a professional activity, in a professional capacity, be it your doctor, advocate, all those finance professionals, or anybody for that matter, any kind of artist, all this going to be, they are going to be coming under the term called as profession. Vocation could be any art related work. It could be singing, it could be dancing, it could be any of those related work, or people who are involved in adventurous activities, including Vagar. A company whose main motive is to run a casino, maybe not possible in certain states, but possible in few states. The company has a casino which they would be running in Goa. The company would have a casino that they would be running in Maharashtra. Now, if that be the case, then that company is engaged in business. And all this, not only they stop here, or any other similar activity which is done for a pecuniary benefit or otherwise. Pecuniary benefit means a little gain. And if they would have told for a pecuniary benefit, then it is okay. You do something for a profit motive, you do something for a not for profit motive. That is what is the intention. Whether or not it is for a pecuniary benefit, which means out of the transaction you take an advantage, out of the transaction you don't take an advantage, out of the transaction you get money, out of the transaction you don't get money, out of the transaction you make a super duper profit, out of the transaction you get a super duper loss. You don't bother, or you land up at a very small profit. Whether or not it is for a pecuniary benefit, whether or not, which means it's profit is there, profit is not there, we are not bothered. Profit will become after expenses a word. Okay. When it comes to pecuniary benefit, small benefit, intangible benefit, associated benefit, so it is a more smaller word than what profit. Profit is a very big word, because you should have the income, you should have the expenses, and then only you land up at profit. That is how someone would interpret. Pecuniary benefit means you are currently living in a 2 bedroom hall kitchen apartment, and for various reasons, it is between your family consists of just 3 people: father, mother, and yourself. For various reasons, you all are only using only those hall, bedroom, kitchen, and one room only. The other room is always ideal. One fine day, your distant relative uh, person calls your father and says, will it be possible for having my daughter in your house? Already there is a daughter. They thought, why not to have? Said yes, yes, ask your daughter to come and stay with us. We will take care of her. Or already there is a son, they want to have one more son. Yes. Now the person, a distant relative who is located down south or who is located up north, whatever be it, he or she, that gentleman calls and says, just to take care of him, I'll give you some small sundry expenses towards it, some 3,000 rupees. Is it business? admitting a different person. In a very, very simple line, I can call this as paying guest. Okay, PG, paying guest. Now, is this his business? When it is within known person, the whole story is different. Come back to Maharashtra, come back to Andhra Pradesh, come back to Tamil Nadu, all the metropolitan cities you have unrelated paying guest. Unrelated paying guest. Somebody would be different. Is it business? I am sorry, you have to think in that line. Yes, it is business. So the moment you get some small benefit, the moment there is a small benefit associated with it, yes, it has to be understood as business. These definitions are all important. Make yourself comfortable. This definition has appeared twice in exam till now and appeared for a solid mark of 3. No jokes. Not like other 3 solid mark, and once I believe it was straight away lifted for one 4 markers completely, because this definition runs into 2 slides, a little lengthier, no doubt about it. But the intention here is, if you're going to be engaged in any of these activity, yes, it would be treated as business. I would share a particular example. You decide whether it is business or not. This was an activity which is done by one of our friend, where I just thought that would be little proper for us to discuss this example. My friend was in touch with a celebrity. The celebrity had a particular motor vehicle, motor car by name called as Aston Martin. This Aston Martin is a particular breed of car. Okay, if you don't like Aston Martin, okay. Actually, the facts was in relation to Aston Martin. If you don't like Aston Martin, it is something like a car of all those high-end hybrids of BMW or something. Okay, so coming back here, our core our core discussion is going to be on this friend was in touch with a celebrity. The celebrity bought a, let's say, if you don't like Aston Martin, Rolls Royce for close to about 5.5 lakhs. Now he bought this for 5.5 crores. Having bought this for 5.5 crores, he's been using it for quite some time. Once all that discussion, everything got over, this person, the celebrity, thought to sell off this vehicle and not in a mood to accept the vehicle or take forward that vehicle. What this celebrity did is want to sell through this car to somebody. They went and asked some of those car trading organization, used car trading organization. Those used car trading organization came up with a proposal of 2.5 crores or 2 crores. To this celebrity, he thought it is little low, as the car has just driven 8,000 kilometers in the last 4 years. And because of that reason, the celebrity expected a little high price. Now, our friend is in touch with the celebrity. He also knows one more person who is interested in buying Rolls Royce. Called that person who's interested in buying Rolls Royce. Call that person. Are you interested in buying Rolls Royce? He asked. Yes, he said. This celebrity I know. He is planning to sell his Rolls Royce. I'm in touch with that gentleman. That person would sell to whomever I say, provided the necessary payments are made. Roughly, I believe the car would come up around 3.5 crores. Any case, I'll negotiate for you and we will close the best deal. The third person thought, if he is going to buy a new one, it would cost him 5.5 crores. And again, the process, the time limit, all are extending. So better let him buy a used vehicle. It's rarely used. It's just 3,000 kilometers driven, just about 3 years old. There is no harm in buying it. Went to the celebrity, sir, nice person. He would buy the product. I'll guarantee you for payment. Initial payments were transferred. And however, when he closes the deal, he closed the deal with the celebrity for 3 crores. Celebrity was happy because if you go to the market, he would be getting only 2.5 crores maximum. But this fellow closes the deal for 3 crores, which was the expected number of the celebrity. To the contrary, this individual, from this individual who is going to now buy the used vehicle, from him he get a confirmation, I would buy it for 3.5 crores, but came to that individual and told, brother, I have negotiated on your behalf thoroughly. The celebrity initially started with 3.75 and all. I told him nothing doing and closed at 3.25 crores. Connected both people, in between taken away a comfortable 25 lakhs. I would only know why I'm saying story. Okay. End of the day, business or not a business. And this is the only transaction that he has done in his life. After that, earlier he never did. After that also he never did. That is the next twist in the whole discussion. Shruti Deepa, check. Irrespective, he never did a transaction at all. The only question is, this is the one transaction he did. Prior to that, he don't know what is car. After that also, he don't know anything. He never did. Only one transaction. Stray versioning, no regularity, so no business. Come back and read in your slide point number C. If you carefully note, your clause A and clause C would satisfy, irrespective whether or not there is volume, frequency, continuity, or regularity. Your intention is more important when it comes to business. See, let me repeat it. Intention is more important. And the surrounded activities, those are all more important when it comes to business. Make yourself more comfortable. No, he is not an agent, Divesh. He is not at all an agent. Agent is a very strong word. Go and refer the yesterday's discussion for agent. Is he acting on behalf of the other person? He's not an agent. Okay. Don't unnecessarily use these words because a lot of time we don't understand the real, many times we don't understand the meaning of the word. Again and again we use the word. But just understand, agent means when I represent only one person and I have a contractual obligation that I can do anything on behalf of that person. I don't think so. That power, that individual given to him. He is just mediating both people. Maybe you can call him as an intermediary, a middleman, maximum in a layman's language, middleman, in a professional language, intermediary. Agent is not the right word to use. Okay. Agent is a larger responsibility. That is what I'm trying to say here. So he's not agent. Be that as it may, even if you're going to go and touch him, that yes, he is going to be the agent, even then it is business. Just because you're going to be agent, you will not be out of business. You're going to be in the agency business, then yes, it is again a business. Come back here. Points for further discussion. Any supply or acquisition of goods, any supply or acquisition of goods. Either you're going to buy goods or you're going to sell goods, including capital goods and services, in connection with either the commencement of business or closure of business. Any goods that are sold or any goods that are acquired at the start of the business or close of the business, all would be treated as business. So you're going to start a business for which you procured some goods. You're going to close down the business. You sold all the goods and closed down. All will be treated as business. All those provision of service by a club, association, society, or any such body, the facilities to or benefits to its members. All those services by the club, association, or body would be treated as business. Followed by admission for a consideration of a person to any premises. Admission for a consideration of a person to any premises. In fact, this is where all the PG will come over here. Admission for a consideration of a person to any premises. Service supplied by a holder of an office, all those people who hold a particular office which is involved as part of their trade or profession. Any activity provided by all those race clubs as a total seller license or for all the betting related activities, or any transaction taken by government where they are engaged as a public authority. For example, you also have the private buses plying on the roads. Similarly, you also have a state government buses plying on the road. At that time, don't come out and say they are government. Government cannot be engaged in business, blah, blah, blah. Like how a private player, it could be your KPN travels, SRS travels, SRM travels, this travels, that travels, move the passengers through buses. In the same way, you also have a government-based company called as State Express Transport Corporation Limited. Andhra Pradesh State Express Transport Corporation, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Goa, or Tamil Nadu, as the case may be. Every state express transport corporation is engaged in business. At that time, don't come out and say state government, how government can do business when they are engaged as a public authority. Are they a public authority? Then yes, they can do a business. Like how a private player, Olympia Tech Park, Ascendas Tech Park, or DLF Tech Park, Mahindra World City, companies can build properties and give it on rent, including your Phoenix Fences and all others. Similarly, Tidal Park, government can build and give it on rent. At that time, don't come out and say government, how government can. Public authority. I've been engaged as a public authority. When I'm engaged as a public authority, I no doubt I am engaging in what? Business. So that sums up our discussion of one of your very key term. Let me repeat, it's worth so much important. You will understand it important when we go back to our next part of our discussion. On our next hour, we will touch upon a very important word called as supply. At that time, your understanding would be widened. Coming back here, 231 of CGST Act comes out and defines a very important term called as consideration. What do we mean by consideration? When we go back, we are all read the term 2D of Indian Contract Act, where consideration includes, it can be in money or it can be in time. Here also same, consideration in relation to supply of goods or services. In any case, if any of you have any doubts on your earlier discussion, don't wait till the end. Don't wait till the end. Raise your hand so that you will come on your list in the top. I can unmute you whenever you want. Or ideal is that if the question is small, put it on the chat box. Don't spend predominant of your time in typing it. Better you raise your hand, it will come automatically, and strategically I can decide. Yes. Consciously, not all are allowed to be in a mute mode because it is creating unnecessary nuisance. Suddenly, sometime unintentionally, it goes unlock and it create everything. Come back here. Consideration. As far as 231 consideration is concerned, the intention of consideration in relation to supply of goods or services or both. Let me repeat, goods, services or both. So consideration in relation to supply of goods or services or both. Any payment made or to be made. See, this is nothing but we would have come across another word called as paid or payable. Similarly, any payment made or to be made, whether in money or otherwise, in respect of, in response to, or for the inducement of, supply of goods or services or both, whether by the recipient or by any other person. So, any money that is paid in relation to, any money that is paid in relation to supply of goods, supply of services, and any money already paid or any money is going to be payable, and they never simply told in relation to supply of goods. They told it in a very coined term by using some of those legal phrases, in respect of, in response to, or for the inducement of. Your consideration that is paid can be past, present, future, in respect of, or something done earlier, in response to, which is going to do, or for the inducement of. So your consideration can be past, present, future. Consideration can be money or otherwise. Otherwise is a wide word, not money or kind. Indian Contract Act would use a word kind. We are using a word here, otherwise, which means even a promise of not doing something is a consideration. A promise of doing something is a consideration. A promise of not doing, a promise of refrain from doing something is also a consideration. So, doing something, not doing something, promise of doing something, promise of not doing something, all will form part of the broader terminology called as your consideration. Why I want to press upon this word is understand these small differences, because you would carry with your own understanding. Consideration means what? Money and kind, everybody know. Something in return, quid pro quo, correct? All that is there, all that is in-house there. Plus something additional here is going to be your understanding. Followed by, in case if the money is, if in case somebody is going to receive other than money, the monetary value of any act of doing something or forbiddance of doing something would also be treated as your consideration. So no doubt, money or otherwise, the monetary value of doing an act, the monetary value of abstain from doing an act is also treated as a consideration. Now, very careful understanding is this. But the consideration shall not include any subsidy given by central government or state government. Subsidy given from whom? Only from central government or state government. If I received some subsidy from any other person, then it would not be excluded. It will not include. It will not include. It shall not include any subsidy given by central government or state government, which means I collect 100 rupees as consideration, plus government gives me another 25 rupees as subsidy, then my total consideration is 125 for that transaction. However, under GST, we are recognizing, maybe you can say total revenue is 125. However, under GST, we are recognizing only 100 as your consideration. Any subsidy given by central government or state government will not form part of your consideration. Similarly, any deposit given in respect of supply of goods or services, and those deposits are all refundable deposits. It will be refunded at the time when it is going to be, when something is over, it will get refunded. Those deposits are called as, those deposits alone are called as, means refundable deposits, and those deposits alone will be excluded from your consideration. In case those deposits are applied for consideration. Let me repeat, those deposits, because the other fellow has not paid me rent, I adjust with the deposit. Then on the day in which that adjustment happened, on that day it will be treated as a consideration. A deposit given in respect of supply of goods or services or both shall not be considered as a payment. Shall not be considered as payment made for such supply unless the supplier applies such deposit as a consideration for the said supply. When I'm making a telephone, I make a telephone deposit. When I take a mobile phone connection, I would pay upfront deposit. And I take a property on rent or lease, I pay upfront deposit. Is a deposit is a consideration? No. Refundable deposits are not consideration. Sir, what will happen to non-refundable deposit? By the name it suggests, non-refundable deposits are consideration. Similarly, if the person has not paid rent, not paid the charges, lease charges, whatever be it, as the case may be, in case, if the person adjusts the deposit with the money receivable, payment payable, at that time it would be treated as consideration. So when it comes to consideration, it can be money, it can be other than money. Consideration can be past, present, future. Consideration can be paid by the recipient or by any other person. Subsidies from government, from central government, state government are not forming part of your consideration. Refundable deposit, not forming part of consideration. However, if deposits are applied for money receivable, at that time it would be treated as consideration. So come back here. This is a very important definition, and these words you will have its importance when it comes to supply. That when we define that word as supply, then which is a taxable event, when we define that word supply, you would be in a position to understand this definition in a more better way. Coming back here, moving forward, before we take forward, we have a question raised by Srinivasan. What do you mean by race clubs? Race club, yeah. You have in Chennai Gindi Race Club. You have in Bangalore Race Club. You have in many places, no, horse race, betting, gambling. All this is to what extent it can be legally allowed. You can't do an IPL betting in a race club, okay, because it is illegal. Only horse betting might be allowed in some places. In Maharashtra, every betting is allowed. Of course, IPL betting is not allowed. But just to understand all those places where race related matter, it could be horse races, very popularly called. So you have every place, Bangalore Race Club, Madras Race Club, you have everywhere. That's a different breed by itself. Okay, because you raised this word, I would go it in little different route associated towards the next be formulated on this. When it comes to consideration, deposits are not consideration. Subsidy received are not consideration to be remembered consciously. Rest, that anything that is received by a person which is going to be for the supply of goods or services would be treated as consideration. We'll come to this turnover definition sometime later, turnover of estate. We'll first complete aggregate turnover. What do we mean by a term called as aggregate turnover? A very important word used more than 6 times in your discussion at your level. At final level, again, it is discussed a little more time. Aggregate turnover. As far as aggregate turnover means, the aggregate value of all non-taxable supplies, exempt supplies, export of goods or services, and interstate supplies of a person having a same PAN number computed on a all India basis, and it excludes central tax, state tax, union tax, integrated tax, and cess. So taxable supply plus exempted supply plus zero rated supply for a PAN number, which means they will have one office in Andhra Pradesh, one office in Karnataka, one office in Tamil Nadu, one office in Maharashtra. Then when you calculate aggregate turnover, you will add offices of all four. R Limited has one office in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra. Maharashtra is head office, all three are branch office. Then aggregate turnover means all four branches together. Sir, how you know all four branches together? Having the same PAN number computed on all India basis. Words like that gives us important. Having the same PAN number computed on all India basis, it excludes central tax, state tax, union territory tax, and integrated. Taxable supply means, sir, the supplies on which you pay tax. We have discussed already. Exempted supplies are nothing but supplies on which is not liable to tax. Exempted supply also includes what? In other words, called as exempted supply includes your non-taxable supply which are not leviable to tax, followed by your export of goods or services or supply to SEZ, then that would be treated as your zero rated supply. This all supplies computed on an all India basis would be treated as an aggregate turnover. In case you want to understand this discussion little from a mathematical perspective, it would be something like this. Aggregate turnover equal to taxable supply plus zero rated supply plus exempted supply, including your non-taxable supply. Okay, exempted supply includes a non-taxable supply, and it excludes only two items. All those GST related taxes and supply on which tax paid under reverse charge mechanism. What do we mean by supply on which tax paid under reverse charge mechanism? Or in other words, RCM on inward supply. That would be the easiest word instead of remembering such a big word. Now, come back here. Aggregate turnover equal to taxable supply plus zero rated supply plus exempted supply. Exempted supply includes non-taxable supply. It excludes your GST related taxes, be it CGST, SGST, IGST, UTGST, all tax, central tax or state tax or union territory tax or integrated tax. All taxes are forming part of your GST related taxes. It also reduces your, what is it, RCM on inward supply. Maybe RCM on inward supply, now understand it as a learning. Maybe we will take it up that as a discussion sometime later, not now. RCM on inward supply is a particular transaction on which supplier will not pay tax, recipient will pay tax. Whenever recipient pay tax, that is when you will call it as reverse charge mechanism. And if recipient is going to pay tax, no doubt the respective recipient is liable to pay tax. One. When recipient is liable to pay tax, no doubt it would be called as reverse charge mechanism. Maybe understand this as a word now. Don't press much. We will take it up that sometime later because it requires a followed up learning associated with it. Coming back here, getting into few discussions associated with it. A Limited having its office, having its head office in Maharashtra, engaged in taxable supply for rupees 20 lakhs, engaged in taxable supply for rupees 20 lakhs, exempted supply for rupees 40 lakhs, and export of goods for rupees 15 lakhs. Okay. That's the information. I have not completed the entire problem. A Limited, its branch office in Karnataka has supplied taxable supply of rupees 30 lakhs, exempted supply of rupees 15 lakhs, and export of service of rupees 25 lakhs. Okay. Now, you need to calculate your aggregate turnover. Yes. How much is going to be your aggregate turnover? Yes. Quick. Aggregate turnover is going to be how much? Seniorson, kindly check your answer. Oh, data. Okay. Okay. Quick. Quick. See, very simple. More than 100 of you are here. If your responses within split second is not going to be more than 10% of it, or for a question, if the responses is not more than 25% of what is there, very simple, it's an indirect message uh, to me that kindly don't ask us questions. EOG, export of goods, EOS, export of services. EOG means export of goods, EOS means export of services. Aggregate turnover. Check, check, check. Shruti, you have to check your answer. Okay. Stay Varshini, you have to check your answer. Sumit Jain, I don't understand at all. Completely wrong. Okay. Check your answer. Quick, quick, quick. Time is running short. Subhashini, check your answer. Very serious. Sumit Jain, check your answer. Second wrong. Never understood the concept. That's all. God can only help when you don't understand the concept. If you have typed the answer and if I have not called your name, it seems it is understood that it is true. That's all. Abdul Hanam, check your answer. John Abbey, check your answer. I think a data entry error. Or Ishwar, check your answer. Ishwar P, check your answer. Third wrong is Sumit. Kindly read the transaction. Fourth wrong. Kindly read the transaction and then decide. Harish, check your answer. Rest all are having your own fears of not taking up a question. I understand. I'll do one thing. Henceforth, I will not ask a question. Okay, I will leave it as it is, like any other activity. I know how to handle it. Okay, I will take it up in a regular way and keep on. Why should I waste my time on drafting a question here? And you all people will not understand it somehow. Less spoken twice. Aggregate turnover will include both taxable supply, exempted supply, non-taxable supply, zero-rated supply. It excludes all taxes and reverse charges. In the given case, for Karnataka, for Maharashtra, first you will decide your turnover. For Maharashtra, the taxable supply is going to be, for Maharashtra, the taxable supply is going to be 20 plus exempted supply is 40 lakhs plus zero rated supply, otherwise called as exports, is called as 15 lakhs. Followed by, for Karnataka, it is going to be 30 lakhs plus 15 lakhs plus 25 lakhs. When we add through all these supplies, aggregate turnover means it includes taxable supply, exempted supply, export of goods or services, otherwise called as zero rated supply, computed for a PAN account, A limited, PAN number, for a PAN number, permanent account number, and computed for a PAN number for a all India basis. All India basis you have to calculate. All India basis means including your head office, branch, all that. So your aggregate turnover for this would be 55 lakhs from Maharashtra, not 55 lakhs, sorry, 75 lakhs from Maharashtra, and about 70 lakhs from Karnataka, makes us 145. Honestly say, is it that difficult? You all either never attempted it or brought all the combinations under. It has to be only one combination. Everything computed on a all India basis. All India basis means if you have a office and branch office, everything to be computed. I think I have given enough example. In spite of that, I will come only wrong. Then I cannot do anything. Best is I will not ask questions and I am not happy with the responses. I cannot repeat in every class, respond me, respond me, respond me. No, I am sorry. I am not a faculty of that choice. And I'm very clear. You are all decided that you don't want practical questions to be tested, then who am I to test it? I would not take it up questions. I'll keep on discussing topic. You read it at your own end. You test yourself at your own end so that it is convenient to you. If you know the question only, you will know where you will fall. When you don't know where you will fall, you will not know where the trap is. Just for your information, dears. Take care. Coming back here, moving from aggregate turnover, getting into a topic, another definition called as turnover in a state or union territory. What do we mean by a turnover in a state or union territory? Nothing great. The aggregate value of all taxable supplies, exempted supplies within the state or union territory. Aggregate value of all taxable supplies and exempted supply within the state or union territory by a taxable person, where including your export of goods or services or both, interstate supply of goods or services or both made from that state or union territory. Sir, what is this, sir? For Maharashtra alone, if you compute, it is turnover in a state. For Karnataka alone, if you compute, it is turnover in a state. You applied that logic and computed for India as a whole, then it would become aggregate turnover. So taxable supply plus exempted supply plus zero rated supply minus your reverse charge on which tax payable minus GST related taxable, GST related taxes paid, computed for that state, then you will call it as turnover of state. Computed for pan India, then you will call it as aggregate turnover. Then turnover in state, aggregate turnover is an important word, would be referred many times, already tested in exams. What do we mean by a term called as reverse charge mechanism or reverse charge? Liability to pay tax is with the recipient. What do we mean by reverse charge? Normally, supplier of that goods alone is liable to pay tax. Supplier means who is engaged in supply of goods or services. The supplier of goods is liable to pay tax to government. However, government steps in and comes out and highlights that on notified goods, on notified services, supplier will not pay tax. Instead of that, recipient who receive these services will pay tax to government. That method is called as your reverse charge when as a recipient of goods or services. Let me repeat. I am a professional who's been engaged in a professional capacity on various activities. In case if I receive any notified services, I am liable to pay tax not as a supplier but as a recipient. As a recipient, I am liable to pay tax. Then as a recipient, if I am liable to pay tax, then the method in which I would be taxed is called as reverse charge. For a moment, understand this as a simple learning. we will have as a separate discussion, a complete discussion when we get into a topic called as levy of GST. A clear topics, when it will be levied, from on whom it will be levied. There is a separate discussion, levy of GST. After 4 hours, we will discuss that topic. At that time, we will take it up. For the moment, understand, normally tax will be paid by suppliers to government. Sometimes government will ask the recipient to pay tax. Then it would be called as your reverse charge. Come back here. When it comes to tax period, a definition called as tax period. Tax period means period for which the return is required to be furnished. The period for which return is required to be furnished is called as your tax period. The time in which it has to be filed, the month for which it is going to be filed, then it is called as tax period. And that sums up your discussion relating to definitions. So these are all the definitions. Today's all 3 definitions are important. I thought to ask some more questions because the responses are all poor. I will do one thing. At this level, I will stop asking questions, and we would break here for about 5 minutes. We will rejoin by 8:05 and then get into a new topic for discussion called as supply under GST. Don't exit the room. Uh, what is it? Don't exit the room. Don't do anything. Stay as it is, and take a break. Rejoin after 5 minutes. Thank you. Welcome back to today's discussion. Meaning and scope of supply. As far as meaning and scope of supply is concerned, supply is a crucial term. Supply, you can call it as a taxable event. Like how, if there is an income tax is going to be levied. If there is a supply, GST will be levied. So it is called as taxable event. In case if a person is engaged in a taxable event, that is which is called as supply, then that supply can be a intrastate supply or interstate supply. Respective government will have power to tax. All that will be the future. What do you mean by the term supply? How someone can understand the term supply when we get into that important questions or crucial questions relating to that. Questions relating to that. Points to be noted down by us are: like every single law, you step into any law for that matter, that would be the origin for its levy of tax. Unless and otherwise a person does not have an income, he would not be leviable to income tax. The first requirement is he should have an income. Then he'll be liable or leviable to income tax. Unless and otherwise there is no supply, there cannot be a levy of GST. What is this supply? Section 7 of CGST Act. Section 7 of CGST Act defines the term supply. Often, some of you have a question in your mind, and few of you raised this question in the chat box also. Do I need to remember section numbers? If I say a section number in the session, then it means you have to remember. Though the section number is there in the PPT, if I refrain from saying it, section number, schedule number, notification number, then it is not it need not be remembered by you. Let me repeat it. That is the model at which we will go. If in case I remember, if in case I share it, then yes, it has to be remembered. That is the option. I would not come up with for every section you have to remember section number. I would not proceed specifically. Sometimes you have to remember section number. Sometimes you have to remember subsection number, which is 7.1. Sometimes you have to remember subclause number, which is 7.1a. Okay. To that extent, I have to remember, sir. Yes, you have to remember. From an exam perspective, preferably wherever questions are going to be involved in a descriptive type, you have to remember. It is going to be a selection of MCQ, then answers will be there. 7-1A, 7-1B, 7-1C, 7-1 capital A. You have to select only among the section. That's the another way of in which it will be tested in MCQ. In a descriptive writing, if you're going to write it, then you have to write it fully. Don't be much bothered. Don't spend predominant of your time in remembering section number and all. That will be an incidental activity which will automatically happen to you over a period of time. Don't break your head. 7, 7, 7, 7. In life, you cannot read and get in something. One, you have to enjoy the process of your learning. If you start enjoying your process of learning, you will be able to appreciate it to the extent possible. To the extent possible, take it as a conceptual learning. Okay, I'm a person very deeply convinced that unless you understand a concept, you will not be able to remember for your life. Unless you don't understand something well, you can't make it simple. Everything in this world can be made simple, including your rocket science. Only thing is two things required: a conceptual learning, a conceptual clarity, abundantly clear. It should be abundantly clear, beyond a speck of a small doubt. It should be having abundant clarity. Then it is required. For example, now if a question is raised, I am a landowner. I collect a rental deposit of rupees 2 lakhs and advance rent of rupees 25,000. A single check comes to me as a landlord. As a landlord of a building, a single check comes to me. No doubt I'm engaged in supply of services. But the question that I want to highlight to you is, what is going to be my consideration? Is it 2 lakh rupees is going to be my consideration? 25,000 rupees is going to be my consideration? 2 lakh 25,000 is going to be my consideration? None of the above. I am a landlord. New tenant came post pandemic. He has given me, wait. He has given me a check of 2 lakh 25,000. 2 lakhs is deposit. 10 months deposits, or not 10 months deposits, 8 months deposits. 25,000 is the rent. Both together, 2.25 lakhs is collected at one go, a single check. What is my consideration? 2 lakhs, 2.25 lakhs, 25,000, none of the above. Of course, no doubt, all landowner will collect deposits. All deposits are refundable deposits. At no stretch of your imagination, you can think about it. Prithviraj, check your answer. Sumit Jain, check your answer. Sudesh Kumar, check your answer. Vidya Shankar, nice answer. Sai Venkata, check your answer. Dhruv, nice answer. In fact, that is how it has to be presented. Deepa, check your answer. Sai Lokesh, check your answer. Shamir, check your answer. Sumit Jain, check your answer. Naveen, I think you have misunderstood the question. 2 lakh rupees is collected as rental deposit, and monthly rent is 25,000. 8 months rent is collected as deposits. Arya, check your answer. Cyril, also you have to check your answer. See, in the example, when 2 lakh rupees is collected as deposit, no doubt 2 lakh rupees is a refundable deposit. And what will be liable to tax is only, the rental charges, 25,000. So kindly make a note. Just now only we read the consideration definition. In the consideration definition, we have highlighted specifically all deposits which are refundable deposits will not form part of consideration. Yes. So see, this is how every topic will be tested. Why we read a definition? Definition will give us a takeaway. That takeaway will be tested. A definition gave you a takeaway. Consideration definition gave you a takeaway. Any money paid for a supply of goods or services currently now, or for a future supply, or for even for a old supply, it would be treated as consideration. Same way, every topic has its nuances. Do I need to remember 231? Do I need to remember 217? Do I need to remember 2 subsection 6? Yes. Yes. Preferably, when you're going to write a descriptive questions, that remembrance is required. From an MCQ pattern, it is not much of importance because many times section numbers are not highlighted there. The concept driven by the section number is highlighted. Coming back here, getting into scope of supply. Getting into your scope of supply. Under the term supply, what are we going to learn? Supply in general. Generally, the term supply means what? That would be our first level of discussion. Then, followed by in case of import of services. In case of import of services, will it be treated as a supply? Some of the activities or transactions that are done even without consideration. Activities or transaction done even without consideration, it is treated as supply as per schedule 1. What are those transactions? That would also form part of the scope of supply discussion. Plus, certain activities are treated neither a supply of goods nor a supply of services. That is technically to say no supply. Certain transactions, certain activities are qualifying no supply category. Recollect our kinds of supply, our types of supply. Last discussion we made, no supply. All those activities, transactions will not be treated as supply. We have a specific discussion. Why it is important to us? This one section 7 in-house all the information. Sometimes there is a doubt whether a particular transaction is a supply of goods or it is a supply of services. That doubt will be clarified with the help of schedule 2. Not for all transaction, only for certain activities or transaction. Wherever the doubt is large, government stepped in and clarified. For example, if I ask a generic question, this is a generic question. Information technology software is a goods or it is a service? Information technology software, is it a goods or a service? So, supply of goods, supply of service. Okay. Very few of you agreed that it is going to be goods. A lot of you agreed it is service. And I want to make a point. Dhruv has a great future. He came out and told, sir, it is both, except two of you. Prabhakar and their Amir, I believe. Yes, Shamir. But for Prabhakar and Shamir, all of us are all into a straight wave mode. Service, 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 service. You all told service, no? Come. I would come out and highlight to you that tally package, a tally package, put in a CD and sold. A tally package put in a CD and sold. What it is? Goods or service? Both. Goods or service? My question is very clear. Goods or service or both? If I ask, you answer the both. Come on, come on. All of you. All of you all along was highlighting that. All along was highlighting that it is going to be. All of you all along was highlighting that it is going to be service, 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 service. Now you are going to come out and say it is going to be what? Predominant of you, it's goods. No, 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 sir. Sir, first goods is software is a goods or service. If you have that doubt, now there is no this and that. Okay, that and all is different concept. Let's come to this and that later. Either a goods or a service, you have to take a position. See, it's a tough position. The Indian courts itself had different view. So you have to read through certain transactions. We have about 15 transactions like this, whether it is a goods or a service. Okay, maybe this point also is a little connected, so I can take up that point also. So end of the day, what it is, sir? If a tally put in a CD, tally software package put in a CD, then what it is? Is it a goods or a service? Answer will not be revealed now. Answer will be revealed when we discuss schedule 2 only. Now, why we need to schedule 2? This is only teaser, Kanna. In a teaser, you will not understand the full film. It's a 30-year litigation in India. You want me to answer in one line? Huh? Come back here. Getting into a next topic for discussion. When a restaurant supply idli, vada, sambar, goods or service? I don't want both and all. Goods, service. Within this two, one. Okay. Sir, it can also be like this. It can also be like that. You all know section 252 goods. Goods means which is movable. And service means anything other than goods. Shruti, I've been very clear in my question. It cannot be both. You have to take a position, either goods or service. What position you are going to take? You be very clear for that. Quick. Srinivasan started answering smartly. Hypothetical question. What hypothetical question you have here? You have to take a call here. Is it a goods or service? Oh, nice. In fact, you can also answer in that way. You can say it is both. You can say it is a hypothetical question. You can say, sir, idli is goods, but the restaurant fellow coming and serving me, no, that is service. Now then I'll ask, then what will happen to takeaway? Sir, takeaway. I'm taking away, no, so goods. No. In takeaway also, there is a packing involved in it, which is again a service. Sir, why, sir, morning you are creating so much of, confusions? This confusion is all along there. Let me repeat, this confusion is all along there. At least in India, starting from 1987 till 2017, we are fighting for this. Whether a transaction is a goods or transaction in service. My dear brothers and sisters, kindly make a note, you are all on a blessed time in the indirect tax regime. Because for you, only one law to read. Let me repeat, only one law. If you master your CGST Act, indirectly you are mastering your SGST Act of every state. And if you take a position in CGST Act, that is the position for all the SGST Acts. Earlier situations were not like that. Earlier we had a different law coming up with different propositions, and within the state we had different propositions. So point here is very clear. These are all challenging situations. These are all identified transactions where government stepped in and told this should be treated as goods, this should be treated as services, and we will move in that direction only. So that's a separate discussion by itself. I am not preempting all those discussion. All that I want to discuss now is very comfortably a first topic for our discussion in the general term supply. So we will have 5 broader topics to discuss. Generally, what do you mean by supply? Followed by second, which is going to be your generally what do you mean by the term supply? Second, import of services. In case of import of services, is it a supply or not? Sometimes it is a consideration. Sometimes if it is going to be activities done even without consideration, it is treated as supply. Certain activities are not treated as supply at all. A discussion about that. And last would be whether a particular transaction is a supply of goods or supply of services. Then the last one part, the first 4 are more important. Generic term supply, import of service, transactions done even without consideration, when it will be treated as supply, what are all will not be treated as supply, which is no supply transaction, your fourth one, schedule 3 transaction. Individual discussion we would make. First 2 may be part of today's discussion. The next 2 would be part of our next session discussion. And the last would be part of the last. We'll try it to close all 3 together in the next discussion. But just check. Section 7(1)(a) discuss the term supply in general. Supply in general means all forms of supply made or agreed to be made by a person for a consideration in the course or furtherance of business. Let me repeat it. Section 7(1)(a) comes out and highlights that all forms of supply, let me repeat, all form of supply made or agreed to be made, all forms of supply made or agreed to be made by a person, all forms of supply made or agreed to be made by a person for a consideration in the course or furtherance of business. What do we mean by all forms of supply of goods or services? It can be any form of supply. It can be a goods, it can be a service, or it can be both. Law allows both also. It's a combined discussion of both goods and services. Yes, all forms of supply of goods or services. All forms of supply of goods or services. Made or agreed to be made. All forms of supply of goods or services made or agreed to be made by a person for a consideration in the course or furtherance of business. Coming back here, what can be different forms of supply? I'll come. We have to discuss a lot. I'll come one after the other. What are the different forms of supply? Your forms of supply can be, when it comes to goods, it can be a sale of goods, or it can be a transfer of goods, or there can be a barter involved in goods. Of course, a barter of service is also possible, or it can be exchange, license, rental, lease, disposal. Exchange, license, rental, lease, barter, all examples of services. So all forms of supply of goods or services such as sale, barter, exchange, lease, license, rental. So your goods or services can take any of the form. A person sell the goods. A person provide a service. A person transfer his goods. A person transfer his right to use his goods. A person rents his property. A person leases his property. A person dispose of the goods. All forms of supply. On goods of goods or services. All forms of supply of goods or services. When it comes to that discussion, all forms of supply of goods or services, these all forms of supply which are made or agreed to be made. Let me repeat, made or agreed to be made for a consideration. Made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person in the course or furtherance of business. Let me repeat. In the course or furtherance of business means what, sir? All those forms of supply, all those forms of supply, these forms of supply can be A limited, sell goods to another person, B limited. It's a form of supply. A limited, transfer goods to another person. Again, it is a form of supply. Barter, both of them without involving in money. Let me repeat, both of them without involving in money. These people engage in the activity. Without involvement of money, if they engage in an activity, it would be treated as barter. If one product is exchanged with other, then it would be treated as an exchange. You give your old car, buy a new car. Again, the activity here is exchange. So it could be your sale, it could be your transfer, it could be your barter, exchange, lease, rental, licensing. All these are all service related aspects or disposal. When a property is rented, when a property is leased, there is a form of supply of service. So your form of supply of goods can be either sale, transfer, barter, exchange, disposal. Your form of supply of service can be again barter, exchange, lease, license, rental. So any form, anything can take. Generally, a service cannot be sold, so you cannot attach the word sales as a form of supply to service. But for it, all forms of supply, what made or agreed to be made, which is already done. Let me repeat. Either it is already done or now going to be done. So all forms of supply of goods, all forms of supply of goods or services, made or agreed to be made for a consideration. I'm sure all of us have already discussed what is the term consideration. Something in return I have to get. That can be in money, that can be other than money also. All forms of supply, made or agreed to be made, made or agreed to be made for a consideration, no doubt, for a consideration. It would be for a consideration. Of course, by a person, there should be a person involved in it. It should be in the course or furtherance of business. I do this activity with a business motive. I do this activity to improvise my business. I do this activity for a furtherance in business, going one extra mile in my business. Now, if I do this activity for not for business perspective, okay, as a charitable perspective, then the test of furtherance of business has to be decided. What do we mean by furtherance of business? A business development, a business movement, moving it to a next level, moving it to a next engagement. Okay. You know how to sing well. Now you go to the next step of singing in with all those different kind of bands. You know to play a guitar well. Here, instead of in-housing the talent within you, you join a band, and wherever the band goes and make performances, and you go and start doing your guitaring activity there, for which the band receives some small money. It is being given to you, or it is, I would not say given to you, it's shared to you. That money might be little small, but is there is a business development inside it? Yes, because you want to tomorrow specialize on that profession. You are being asked to make a presentation, and you are successful in making that presentation, and later you became a good orator, and for your oratorship you are going to be paid. Now, point here for a discussion, for a little business connection, business upfront movement connected with business. If you do, that is called as in the course or furtherance of business, to take this transaction to a next level with a little of business intention. That business intention may be completing it with a profit or a not for profit. Come back here. Getting into final closing remarks on this topic. There should be a form of supply. That form of supply is made or agreed to be made by a person for a consideration in the course or furtherance of business. If all these five elements are present, then only you can call a transaction as supply. You can call a transaction as supply only if these five ingredients are present. If in case even one ingredient is not present, let me repeat, I caution you, even one ingredient is not present or it is missing, then you cannot call that transaction as supply. You have to stay with it. You have to treat it. This is not a supply. We'll take up some questions for our better understanding. R limited, a trader in goods, made a sale to S limited. R limited, who has made a sale to S limited for rupees 25,000. Is it a supply as per section 7(1)(a) of your R limited, a trader in goods, made a sale of goods to S limited for rupees 25,000. Is it a supply? It is not a supply. Okay, your answers will be among this two only. Supply or not a supply. For all the discussions that we are going to make today, your answers will be only two. Tomorrow, one more element will be added. Day after tomorrow, one more element will be added. Today's discussion, only two elements. Supply, not a supply. That's all you're going to close your discussions. Till now, whoever answered, all of you have answered it rightly. I have never come across an otherwise answer. So it is a supply. So coming back here, moving forward from this discussion, getting into a next discussion. This time, little different. A few of you were aware that yes, I would give a break. A few of you was not aware that whether I would give a break or not. Because unfortunately I gave a break to you. Okay, you all went and pressed your mother, brother, sister, whomever around you, and somehow had a good coffee or a malt drink or whatever be it. Okay, so point here for a discussion. You all had your drink. Sir, no coffee, sir. Okay, had hot water. Okay, leave the issue. So for people who had a coffee, this is the question. The mother who served coffee to a son or this supply, not a supply. Not a supply. Why? Start answering this why. One minute. Easy. What is easy? Answering not a supply. What is tough? Answering not a supply because what? Okay, because what? Add that word. Just one or two words. Good. Not a supply. I agree. Because there is what? No consideration. Okay. Okay. Good. Done out of love and affection. Okay. Agreed. No furtherance in business. Oh, good. No consideration. No consideration. No furtherance in business. Not in the course or furtherance of business. No furtherance in business. No supply is because of no consideration. No money involved in it. Oh, no supply because no consideration. Agree, agree. Now, little change here. The mother who served a coffee to a son or daughter, rupees 50 was paid to mother. What will happen? Would your answers be different? If rupees 50 is paid, okay, then will it be treated as a supply? This time little different. Let me repeat. Question B, a little change. In case rupees 50 is paid, will it be treated as a supply? Ishwar, check your answer. Sumit Jain, check your answer. Sorry, Ishwar, check your answer. Cyril, check your answer. Shruti, check your answer. John, check your answer. Jawahar, check your answer. Avinash, Priya, Saubhagya. See, do you think have you satisfied all the 5 conditions that was there? Can we revisit it once again? Come back here. There is a supply of service, no doubt. Mother gave supply of service. No doubt she has agreed to serve you something for a consideration. Mother is a person, individual person, by a person. Is the whole activity was done for the furtherance of business? Is it so? Is furtherance of business is present in our earlier discussion where mother giving coffee? See, no doubt, mother giving coffee is a service. No doubt, let me repeat, mother giving coffee is a service. But to say it is a supply, all these 5 ingredients has to be present. When furtherance of business is not present, then the said activity cannot be treated as supply. Hope you could able to appreciate that differences. The said activity will not be treated as supply. Come back here. We'll get into our further discussion. So points for our discussions are all very simple here. Where in which the first activity, it is no doubt a supply activity. It would be treated as supply. Why supply? Because all 5 ingredients are present. There is a sale form of supply. There is a person. This person does it for a consideration. It is done in the course or furtherance of business. Here, it is not a supply. Why it is not a supply? there is no doubt consideration is there. See, this is itself is illogical. This itself is what is a highest of its immorality. That's what I would say. Because we are all living in a particular age, we know we can only scold we can only scold our mother. We cannot scold anybody else in the world. If you turn your face to your friend will say poda or podi and walk away. If you show your face to somebody else, they will say let's go. If you turn your face to your employer will say get out of my office. So you can again and again show only to two noble souls in this world, which is going to be your mother and father. It is applicable, universally applicable for everyone. Okay. At a later point in time, we will understand all this is exceptionally. First of all, if you would have gave your mother 50 rupees, that day you would have got a nice slap. Mark my word. Okay. So coming back here, getting into our discussion. When this activity is done, assume, is it a service? No doubt it's a service. It's a beautiful service. It squarely applies in the definition of a service. But it is not a supply because there is no furtherance of business. FOB. Okay. So if there is furtherance of business, as there is no furtherance of business, it is not a supply. Moving forward on our discussion, this time a little again differently, we are going to take it up some question where an individual was caught by a policeman. Where an individual was caught by a policeman. An individual was caught by a policeman and for and paid rupees 500 as fine. Let me repeat. An individual was got by a policeman who represents the state government, respective state government, and this policeman collected a fine for rash driving as per motor vehicle. Question before you is supply, not a supply. Supply, not a supply. Oh, there is no supply of goods or service. Huh? John, think, is he not tolerating you in the road for your rash driving? Toleration of act? Is it tolerating an act is service? Sometimes it will not strike to us. If red is put, if there is going to, if you're going to see a red in the signal, then you have to stop. In spite of seeing that, if you're going to continue to drive, then is the policeman who is there is not tolerating your violation? To that extent, is it not a service? Or there is no furtherance of business? Huh? A nice point. Their duty itself is to collect people who are all not following the law. No, sir, it's a statutory function. Sovereign. Yeah. Sir, you put whatever you want. End of the day, it is not a supply. Okay. So since it is done by state government, it does not supply. Sumit Jain, of late, the logic at which you come, you know, you only have to laugh at your logic. I think I already told you, your person can be anybody. It could be your central government and state government. And what best a business definition can define? Business definition came out and told if a central government or state government involved in any activity as a public authority, then it is a supply. Coming back here, an individual was caught by policemen for a rash driving. First of all, we will ask a fundamental question, is it a service? I doubt there is no service at all here because it's a violation of a act. When it comes to Motor Vehicle Act, when a license is granted, one of the condition is person should not, what is it, do a rash driving. If in case a person violates that, he will be caught by the statutory authority, who is going to be the policeman, and a fine will be collected. Fine is a consideration or a penalty? When we go back and ask ourselves, I think we'll get a larger answer. Fine will be a penal levy. When it is penal levy, then it is not a consideration. Just by paying fine, can I get out of the matter? In case if some fellow has driven the vehicle in a rash way and there was a hit and run case, though no doubt there will be a penalty. Apart from the penalty, he should also face the legal consequences of a hit and run case. So coming back here, it's no doubt it's a penalty in nature, and all those fines are all not consideration. For going fast, I will pay the fees. No, it is not a fee. It is not a fee. FWE. It's not a fee. It's a fine. Fine is penal in nature. When it is penal in nature, it is not a consideration. Moreover, there is no furtherance of business and all here. So it is not a supply. So every transaction or every aspect will become negative when it comes to this question associated. Moving forward, getting into a last few questions to take up on this topic. This time we'll get into a post-exam situation. Okay. So post-exam, what will happen, sir? We'll discuss. Post-exam. Now, post-exam, the books and notebooks used by an individual, used by a student was disposed by the mother to a roadside paper vendor for rupees 1,850. Okay. So question before us. Is it supply? Is it supply? Not a supply. Pick. Is it supply? Not a supply. Shweta, check your answer. Abdul, check your answer. Vidya Shankar, even one-time transaction is treated as business, no? Irrespective of regularity, volume. Sai Venkat, check your answer. John, check your answer. A lot of you are concluding it as supply. I will ask one simple question. Uh, is your home, is your mother is engaged in business? Or are they doing these activities for furtherance of business? If in case your answer is yes, then it would be treated as supply. In case if your answer is no, then it is not treated as supply. Why we are taking up these examples? Because of a very simple reason. Again, come back to this discussion. you will have everywhere tick. There is a disposal of goods, no doubt, made or agreed to be made by a person mother for a consideration 1,850 rupees. But does mother does all this in the course or furtherance of business? Answer is no. End of the day, it would tantamount to what? Supply or not a supply? Answer would again come back as not a supply. That's all I want to highlight over here. Again, it is not a supply. Why it is not a supply? Because there is no furtherance of business. So make yourself comfortable. A transaction which involves a transaction which involves money doesn't mean always it is supply. All these 5 ingredients has to be present to call a transaction whether it is a supply or not. We'll do one thing, as we discussed only the basic level, only the first aspect of it. At that level, we will stop today's discussion and we'll continue with the generic term supply with some more illustration, 3 or 4 illustrations we have to strengthen our understanding better. And we have a few other transactions to take it up. Then we will get into all those other aspects of supply in our next session. Until then, signing off. Thank you all for effective and patient. Thank you.